What should you do on a trip to avoid embarrassing yourself? Am I being rude? Is there etiquette for traveling? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you a little more about how to be polite and elegant while traveling. Hi, how are you? Welcome. I'm Juliana Santiago and this is the Etiquette e Protocolo channel. Today we're going to talk a little more about etiquette while traveling. Many people think that etiquette while traveling is mostly about dealing with other passengers, with the people who are there. Traveling with you, for example, on the same transportation, sometimes on the plane, on the bus, or sometimes having etiquette while traveling at the hotel, but it's much more than just etiquette. With other people, you also need to show consideration for the group. So many times you are traveling with a group of people and it's essential for you to demonstrate and practice good behavior within that group. And also many times you are traveling and going to someone's house. So sometimes you are going to stay over. So there are some points that are essential for you to pay attention to when traveling. And I decided to group some of them together so we can talk a little more about this in this video. The first point is really being punctual. When you travel alone and you're late to catch a bus or a plane, the main person affected is you. But when we're talking about a trip, especially when you're with a group of friends or family members, it's essential that you are punctual. Because even if you miss the flight and the other people catch that flight, it creates a completely unpleasant situation. People get worried about you. It ends up creating an awkward situation for everyone. So don't be the person who is causing that inconvenient moment. It's essential that you be punctual. And when you're traveling with someone as well, whether you're getting a ride or traveling in the same car as someone else, it's essential that you practice punctuality. So if people agreed to meet, for example, at a certain place, be at that place at the agreed time. Or if, for example, there's going to be a van leaving from a certain place, be there on time for the van's scheduled departure. These issues of punctuality, unfortunately, especially here in Brazil, we have the habit of always thinking we can wait another 10 minutes. But we have to be careful because this ends up creating situations and embarrassment for us. And other people, they have the right to be upset if you are late. After all, there's a scheduled time. Why not arrive on time? Right? Everyone has to plan to be there exactly at the scheduled time. Still talking a bit about the space you're traveling in, it's essential to keep it organized and clean. So, for example, avoid leaving trash lying around. If you drop something and it's possible for you to clean it up, it's essential that you try to keep that environment more pleasant for everyone. I know there are situations that are often out of our control. For example, you might be drinking soda and it could tip over and spill. But those are accidents that really can happen. But if you pay attention to your trash, to your things, the chances of situations like that happening will really be lower. So be mindful about keeping the space pleasant for the people traveling with you, whether it's inside a car, on a bus, on a plane, or even on a ship. Another factor is also being considerate toward the people who work at the hotel. So especially when you're going to stay somewhere, or if you're going to stay at someone's house and there are employees in that house or at the hotel, it's essential for you to pay attention to how you treat the people there. Always be courteous and polite. Some unexpected situations can really happen. But many times the people at the hotel aren't even to blame for some situations that might end up happening. If you feel that you are being wronged, it's important to look for the people who can actually help you. Because many times you're complaining about something to someone, but they're not the one who will solve your problem. So it's better for you to look for the people who will help you with the specific problems you have during your stay. And throughout the whole process, be kind and attentive to people. Don't forget to greet the people who work at the hotel, wave to people, smile, because that makes all the difference for you to make a good impression as a guest. This will make a big difference for you. And for sure, it will earn you positive points as a hotel guest. No one has ever lost anything by being kind and courteous. A person may not always gain anything, but they definitely never lose by being kind. When you're traveling, for example, when you're flying or taking a bus, especially when you're on transport with lots of other people, be mindful of the noise you make. So be careful with the volume of your voice. Avoid, for example, watching videos without headphones. So if you want to watch a series or listen to music, don't forget to bring your headphones so you can listen to your own stuff more comfortably. Also, be careful with the tone of your voice when talking to other people near you. It's important to always pay attention to these factors. As a mom of 2 girls, Julia and Livia, one is 1 year and 7 months old and the other is 5 years old, I know that many situations, especially when they involve children, are difficult to handle. Sometimes they're feeling something and end up crying. Sometimes they're having a tantrum and showing some behavior that's hard for us to manage, and the situation gets out of our control. I know this very well, and these situations can happen. But the passengers and the people around you, they're going to observe your behavior. And the way you're trying to handle and solve those issues will definitely have a big influence on what the people around you will think of you. So, if you're trying to work around it, trying to solve it, trying to find ways out of those situations, people will watch you and see, wow, she's trying, she's making an effort. But if you take a somewhat passive stance, right, like just let the child cry, right? Although I, as a mother, don't think that's very considerate, right? Because if your child is crying, they need you. But anyway, that's a conversation for another time, right? So if you're there trying to handle it, people are going to notice because that's really something that's out of your control. But the conversation here about making noise is about adults making noise, okay? Adults making noise. And if you like the content here on the channel, don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. A lot of people end up watching the videos, they like them, but they're not subscribed. So take the opportunity to subscribe and check if you're still subscribed to the channel. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and also on TikTok, which is Etiquette Protocolo, just like here on YouTube. I'll be waiting for you there, okay? Another factor that we really need to pay attention to and improve in our behavior is the issue of monopolizing resources provided in hotels or on shared transportation. So, for example, sometimes the hotel provides those voltage converters. For instance, your devices are 110 volts and the place is 220 volts. This happens a lot. For example, I live in a place that's 110 volts, and when I travel somewhere that's 220 volts, I don't have dual voltage products, so I need to use transformers there as a resource. And many times the hotel has a limited number available. They don't have enough for all the guests. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. So be careful not to monopolize this kind of available resource. Sometimes the hotel has a special toy like in the pool area, and then you took, for example, that ball or that special float and kept it for yourself, right? You don't let other people use it, only your children use that toy. So be very careful with that. Kindness towards others is shown in the smallest details. So, many times we expect people to be kinder, to be more polite, to be more attentive to each other, but we ourselves forget that we don't make efforts to promote cordiality. So it's important for us to notice that. This applies to this and all other aspects. Another factor is waiting your turn in line. So especially when we're talking about traveling, there are a lot of lines. If you have any kind of priority, right? If you fall into any of the categories for priority lines, you can go to the priority lines and priority services. But if you're just a regular person, it's essential for you to respect the line. Even in priority services, there is often a line as well. And it's essential for you to respect that. So, if you don't like waiting in line, the best thing is for you to arrive earlier, plan ahead, and also factor in the time you'll spend in line. So it doesn't help if your flight is on time, if you didn't plan ahead and you're at that airport, which is always crowded and you know there are a lot of people, it won't help, right? There's no point in yelling and saying you want priority service. What you really want is to cut in line. You need to plan ahead. If you're going to board at an airport like Guarulhos, for example, which serves almost the entire country, it's essential that you plan ahead to get to that airport. Take the wait time in line into account. And if you don't want to go through any embarrassment, arrive early. Honestly, no one ever lost anything by arriving early, right? Especially when it comes to punctuality. Situations where there's a set time to leave, right? Sometimes when you go to someone's house, arriving early isn't polite. But when it comes to, for example, a flight, a bus, something that has a set time, you don't lose anything by arriving early. Another unavoidable thing to mention when it comes to travel is being able to respect the culture of the countries we visit. Here in Brazil, we have a culture that's a bit more flexible, a bit more informal in many ways, right? In some situations, yes, we do have some more formal aspects, but we are a country that's a bit more informal. So when you travel to another country, it's essential that you research a bit more about that country's culture, about the place you're going to visit, what's considered right, what's considered wrong, so you can understand a bit more about where you're going and what you should or shouldn't do, right? What are the important things for that culture, for that nation? That's essential. Researching a bit more about the protocols. If you want, we can make a video about some essential things to research about other cultures before you travel. I can cover that topic here on the channel. If you want, just send your questions down here. Because, yeah, we live in a world with many different cultures. Even South American countries are different from each other, so it's essential for us to notice that. Even here in Brazil, if we compare people from the south with people from the north, there's a culture clash. Even though they're from the same country, we see differences. But when we're talking about other countries, that difference is much bigger. And it's much more important to respect it. And when we're talking here about issues from other cultures, try to learn a few words. For example, from the language, like please, thank you. Excuse me. Try to learn some words that can be essential for you to show good manners, even in another culture, even in another language. Yeah, I really like to say, guys, that politeness and good manners are essential for our daily lives. These are factors that make us special, that make us different, that make us elegant in any culture. So knowing more about these issues of behavior, good manners, etiquette, definitely sets you apart, not only when we talk about another culture, but also in your daily life, in your behavior. That's why I offer etiquette training, etiquette and good manners, and it's very comprehensive. It's essential training. It's comprehensive training for you if you want to improve your behavior, if you want to be more assertive in your relationships, whether when traveling or in any other context. The link is the first one in the bio. I'll leave it here for you to sign up and join. I would love to have you as a student. Thousands of people have already taken this training. It's actually one of our school's most successful training programs. And I highly recommend that you join if you realize that good behavior is something that should be observed and that these details really make a difference. Another essential factor is to pay attention to the rules for visits. For example, visits to monuments. So pay attention to photography rules. Can you take photos or not? Also, the dress code. So if there is appropriate clothing for you to wear on a certain tour, it's essential that you respect that. Also respect the rules of that place, if you can touch or not, if you can take photos or not. Anyway, it's essential that you really follow the rules of that context and respect the environment. Another important factor for us to pay attention to is seating, right? A lot of people end up unhappy with the seat the airline assigns to them, or sometimes you choose your seat and kind of regret it. Sometimes you want to sit close to someone and end up not being able to. So you can definitely try to change this situation, talk to the airline staff or the bus company staff. But one thing we can't forget is that in some situations we'll be able to change things and in others we won't. When we talk about airplanes, there are several things we can notice in behavior and good practices, right? The rules of airplane etiquette. And I've already made a video talking about what not to do on airplanes, mistakes people make on airplanes. I'll leave it here on the side for you to watch next. That's it. See you next time.